Welcome back to our series called E-commerce Agency Wisdom, What I Wish I Knew About X. Today, I'm with Tiara. Most of the people that are in my community know who she is. She's our operations genius, guru, coach, wizard, all of the above, working with a lot of my agencies. She's spoken at a lot of my events. And today, we're going to be talking about taking ownership of operations. Is that the topic?
Yeah, totally. Thanks, Rach. Hi, everyone. I have really just in the last, 2 years, really taken operations by the helm of the wheel, but we have been working in e-commerce agency space for about 6 years now. I started out in finance, and something that when I was working in my first agency, that was a full service agency, and I was in that accounting seat, I wish we as an agency knew sooner, is that we needed someone to fully be dedicated to operations, not as an afterthought, but really as a core role driving your agency growth, right? So I moved into that role fully and gave the accounting side to someone else. I see this a lot where agencies will have a project manager who maybe 1 day a week or 2 days a week also does operations. And then what happens is those operations tasks never get done because the client work always takes priority, and then the operations stuff gets put to the side. So, I think that what happens in that case is that when operations aren't a priority, scaling feels chaotic, right? Employee retention becomes harder, processes break down, and your growth really stalls. I think that when you have someone focused solely on the internal engine of your agency, everything can shift. And so, some things that I've learned that matters most in this area is you need someone managing resources. When I say that, you need someone managing their capacity. You need to understand as well as what are the processes that they should be following, and how are our systems organized internally to streamline our workflows that they should be following, right? We often audit our clients' tech stacks, but do we audit our own tech stacks and take inventory of our own team and their roles and hold them accountable? I think as well on the finance side, profitability, it doesn't just happen. I don't know if that's a shock to anyone, but it really shouldn't be. But I think a lot of agencies think that, right? If we sell this thing, then we should be profitable, right? Or it's so easy I hear CEOs say all the time, we want to double revenue next year. But it doesn't just happen. We need to, really have forecasts and be working on how can we optimize our costs? And we need to set realistic, data-driven financial targets. And we need to have someone monitor those and understand, hey, if we brought these projects in, or if nothing closed, or if we brought in these new hires to start, what does that do to our bottom line, right? And doing those things proactively versus asking our third party or in-house accountant at the end of the month, what happened and what did that do to our numbers? We need to have some control over that. And an operations person has both the business context and insights into the numbers to be able to help make those, data-informed decisions for our agency. I think the last part of this is really our people. I see all the time where we promote within, we have all these job titles, but what are the actual, what's the actual company structure? What is our org chart? Are the roles and responsibilities defined? And can we hold them accountable to those with the use of key performance indicators and objectives and key results, right? So everyone knows what they're supposed to be working on, how they're supposed to be working with an optimized process in the system that they're supposed to be working in, and are they meeting those goals? We can have that for everyone in the company. And we need an operations person to really own setting, measuring, and meeting with those people, to make sure that they've hit those targets. And that really helps us scale. So last thing I can kind of note is that I think the biggest impact when you're hiring for an operations person is really, I've seen the most success is when you promote from within. And why? I think because that person already understands your business, your clients, and your culture. You can teach them the numbers, you can teach them how to track things, but, finding a go-getter who really cares about the company, they bring invaluable context that an external hire can't always replicate. You can always add someone like me or Rach to help you you with the scaling part and to really work with that person directly to make sure you guys are hitting your numbers. But having someone in the day to day is just, it's really a game changer. And I think having someone own operations really sets agencies from being reactive to really focus on like strategic scaling. And that's something I think every agency, if you didn't realize then, now you know.
Nice. Very nice. One question I have for you then, just for the agencies that are watching this, a question I get quite a lot is, at what stage does operations become important? Because I think people's idea of operations is different. Like, operations for some people is just dealing with all shit. For other people, it's like HR. For people, it's processes. But a pure operations role, somebody who's coming in and profitability is their metric and they're responsible essentially for the health of the company, because in my opinion, an operations person, the agency is their client. So at what stage within an agency is there a specific revenue size, or is there a team size they should be considering it?
Yeah, it's a question I get all the time. And I really think that an agency, no matter what size you are, the minute that you turn from a freelancer to, oh, shoot, I have team members that I need to, hold accountable and that I need to really be a manager for, I think that's like as soon as you can start working on operations. Maybe you don't have someone fully dedicated. Maybe it is, something that is outsourced to start. But I even say, like, if you have a team of 10, doing resource planning is that much more important because you don't have a lot of resources to go around. So you need to be really thoughtful and plan their time diligently. And you can kind of go off of gut, but if you're going to try to actually scale your business and know when to hire and if you should hire, you should be, having someone in operations planning out your resources the minute it goes from you to you plus anyone else on your team. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think as soon as you hit around, I don't know that there's necessarily a revenue size. I spoke to an agency today that's 25 people doing 10 million. I know other agencies that are 25 people doing 3 million. So I don't think revenue size is accurate because it depends on structure. But I do think as soon as you hit 10 to 15 people, operations becomes important. As soon as you hit 20 to 30 ish, you meet somebody dedicated. And I think that there's that gap. And definitely for my agencies that you work with, they're usually sitting at that gap of 10 to 15 to 30, where they're not fully ready for somebody full time, but they need somebody to come in and set all of those systems and processes and like all of that whole engine, the operational engine. And then, of course, then when they're ready to either hire up, which I agree with, I think hiring up is ideal, or hiring somebody in, at least they have a system ready to rock and roll.
Totally. Yeah. And I think one other thing is that I also work with agencies that are at 70 plus, around that 70 mark, and they didn't have someone dedicated
That's
in that
wild.
role. And now I'm in there and it is the Wild West. And we're now trying to reel in everyone, every system, creating workflows and training team members, which training 70 team members on a process is way harder than having it ready when they're 15, and then as each person is onboarded, training them individually. So it is way easier to start early than try to bring this wait till later, and then it's kind of hard to get on board. We can do it, but it is a little bit stressful for everyone.